I am Brett Jans, agronomist for Diverge Business Development. I grew up on the farm here in central Alberta and went to the University of Saskatchewan where I majored with a Bachelor of Agriculture and then started working for the Crop Management Network after university and also joined the farm. In that time frame, I was fortunate enough to learn a lot about soil amendments and different products, fertility products that we utilize in the industry. I started looking through soil samples consistently across different zones and on different fields, and especially with different farmers. You'd go and make fertility recommendations, but when you're going through these soil samples, you always reach a point where you know that there's a yield limit. And it's usually when you look at either the soil pH or else the salinity that's present. And it just kind of, it's a little bit frustrating. Like it's kind of like you can move around the nitrogen, the phos, everything like that as much as you want, increase the seeding rate, everything you can try to do to try to improve the yield. But no matter what, you're going to always be hitting that ceiling that's going to prevent you from doing anything more because of the fact that there's characteristics of that soil that are going to prevent the yield, reduce the yield potential. And so that's when I started to become more and more interested in what can we do to improve the soil, or what management practices can we utilize to reduce the damage if we're doing any type of damage to the soil, and any products that we can use that should hopefully improve our soil over time. Right where we farm, we're fortunate enough to have really good organic matter, very forgiving soil. However, we do have a low pH. Our average pH is anywhere from 5 to 5.5. Have relatively high levels of aluminum. Depending on the zone in the field, some of it's in that 500 parts per million range, and some of it's up to 1,000 parts per million. And so with that low pH, I know immediately that the fertilizer I'm applying, I'm not going to be getting 100% use out of it, because they've proven that over a long period of studies, and it's known research that your fertilizer efficiency decreases as your pH becomes more and more acidic. So then I started looking at the fertilizer practices that we have and the products that we're using, and what could I change to try to reduce the pH impact that I have. And immediately, ammonium sulfate is the most obvious impact on our soil pH. It has the most amount of acidifying effect out of all the fertilizers that we use. And not only that, it's the easiest thing to replace with a different source of sulfur. And that's when I started researching more and learning more about gypsum. I'd heard about gypsum initially when I was in university and was quite interested in it at that point, but just in the industry, it had not become something that was being used at that point. And so once we had the opportunity to start working with gypsum, I was able to contact a few different farmers that have either salinity soils, or they're concerned about their pH, or they were interested in trying something different other than ammonium sulfate to see if they can improve their soils. And that gypsum is such an easy replacement for ammonium sulfate. Calcium sulfate, the concentration is almost the same as ammonium sulfate, and you're not applying nitrogen, but we haven't been applying calcium to our soils ever in Western Canada, or majority of farmers haven't been applying calcium to the soils, yet we've been extracting that calcium with our crops over the past 4 generations of farmers with no replacement, perhaps even longer, 6 generations of farmers. And so that calcium is slowly declining in our soils.